Alrighty, I think we're ready to get this show on the road. Nope. Except for one thing. The most important thing of all. I need to be here. I can't tell. Yeah, the music looks low enough. I can never tell between my headphone monitoring and OBS where the stuff is. In any case, thanks to anybody who tunes in. I need to bust this out real quick before I leave for work, so I'm just gonna head right into it. We're gonna play around with things a bit, as you may see we're back over to the theater room, and instead of the slideshow of images like I've been doing, I wanted to play around for the next couple of streams. So for this, I'm gonna play the trailer for the movie I'm about to talk about, and then that trailer is going to loop unmuted while I discuss the movie. So without further ado, let's dig into. Well, let's turn the music down just a tad. And then dig on into my first review, The Lost City. Here we go.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the thing for YouTube videos now.
You led me straight to the lost city. Now, prepare to die.
There are just hundreds of snakes in this temple just waiting for us to show up.
What?
Yeah, I do like Sandy Bullock. I think she kind of gets typecast in these rom-coms, but she's still such a fun actress. And of course, Channing Tatum is just one of the best comic actors working today.
No, you're not Dash, right? Dash is a character I made up. Oh, God. Oh, crap.
And of course, Daniel Radcliffe just continuing his line of roles that say, fuck it, I can do what I want. I got the Harry Potter money.
Respectfully decline.
I'm afraid I must insist.
Chain me.
Oh,
no. The red sage is missing.
I'm gonna rescue her. I just wanted her to think of me as more than a cutter mom.
Alan, what are you doing here?
Here's Tig. I'm certified CPR, I'm certified CrossFit. I have snacks.
Off to that.
This is such a... We're on a level 1 dash adventure right now. Let me help you out a little bit.
What are you doing? Get out. Oh, God, get out of it. It's not a romance novel. Don't believe people like us.
You know, I can feel fucking my soul. It's like I've been glued on the outside. It feels like it's more...
Holy mother of God.
I just sucked on my butt like a big old comedy hole.
We're so close. I could actually find the lost city. If I don't use this island, my friend and her couple are going to die. I am driving.
And down. Oh,
Oh,
that.
oh.
I'm sure it's fine.
Red Sage, getting you out of here.
Why are you so handsome?
My dad was a weatherman.
Yeah, Brad Pitt shows up here too.
In there.
Okay.
What are you doing in there?
Three, two, one. Here's
Here's
a
a
go.
trailer for the lost city.
Here's a trailer for the Lost City.
screw you, man.
Why isn't it muting?
Straight to the Lost City.
Mute, darn you. Jeez. That's so bizarre. Okay, it's different on Mac. That would be why. Okay, so that's, I think, Shift, Command down? Okay, I'll have to remember that. In any case, The Lost City is the latest from latest rom-com featuring Sandra Bullock, this time paired with Channing Tatum, who I last reviewed in a movie about a military dog. And I have to say that I definitely did this movie. It's a very old school style of film production where the key was, hey, we've got Channing, we've got Sandy, let's do a thing. And the script is not first and foremost in this. This is a very star first, script later kind of deal. And because of that, the script storytelling is very underwritten. It has some good ideas, but it doesn't really go anywhere because there's not a lot of thought put into it. It's just made because they got Channing and Sandy and they got this amount of time to do it. But for a PG-13 movie, they show whole butt, which I guess you can do now. They show blood splatter, which I guess because it's only in the one scene, then it's okay. So they really do test the bounds of what they can get away with in PG-13. But the premise is a bit of fun. Namely that basically a Harlequin romance novelist who was originally the wife of an actual professor of anthropology has been using the knowledge she knows from their academic writing together. I think she was also an academic as well, and that she was able to get more out of writing these Harlequin romance novels financially than academically. Than academic writing. And she doesn't like it. She wants to be done with it. She wants to quit writing these trashy romance novels. And meanwhile, Channing actually does like her, does have feelings for her, but he's just a dip. He's a goober, and he's terrible at actually trying to, engage with her because she's much more of an intellectual and he's just a guy. Their pairing though is good. They have good chemistry, and I will say that Daniel Radcliffe as the villain is fun. He is such a blast as a comedic villain. I don't know how we do as a serious villain, but in comedically speaking, he plays up this sort of rich trust fund baby, wants daddy's approval, wants to prove himself as the better son, and so he's putting all of this money into trying to get something that nobody else has. And because of her academic studies with her husband, turns out that Sandra Bullock actually left details of their studies in her books. And so Daniel Radcliffe wants to use her in order to find this lost treasure from this island lost civilization in the Caribbean. And hey, Ben, just talking Lost City. But yeah, the comedy here is actually very good. It's not like the best comedy, but there's a lot more hits than there are misses. Channing Tatum especially gets a lot of the good one-liners and good deliveries. He's such a dunce that he will mess up phrases. No, the raid just got started, and I'm trying to work my way through this before I have to leave for work. But yeah, it's a sadly underwritten, and even though there are some good one-liners that are put into the ADR that are done that are done as voiceover essentially, there's still a lot of reliance on that ADR joking in order to get the humor into the movie, which I feel like is once again a sign that they wrote, because Patton Oswalt actually revealed that as comics would be recruited and hired as punch-up artists to write the jokes that will be said in between, said as voiceover instead of actually delivered on camera, because they just need more jokes. And that's a lot of this movie. And I feel like if this movie had actually, if they actually taken the time to write out and think out the jokes and the story and all that, this could have been even better. But for what it is, it's a very fun romp. It's, we're going to get to that after the reviews. But yeah, Daniel Radcliffe was a fun villain. Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock are fun. The assistant, the black woman in the movie, she doesn't really get a whole lot to do. She does try to follow, she does try to follow after and, helps rescue them. But yeah, a lot of what they do with the side characters outside of Daniel Radcliffe, Sandra Bullock, and Channing Tatum is very, underwritten and very lackluster. Like the henchmen, they try to have some backstory for them. There's another assistant there who does social media, who's not very, very interesting, just as a character, nothing about the actress. And then Brad Pitt is there, but only for like a few scenes. He's basically a cameo, but he's fun for the scenes that he's in. I'd say it's definitely worth checking out in theaters if you want, but it's not something that you need to rush out to see either. This is something you could easily pop on at home when it comes out on video and have fun with too. You don't need to see it in theaters per se, but I had fun with it. Moving right along, next up is the infamous new Pinocchio movie. And let me get everything set up here. And let me get the repeat set. Yeah, we'll get to that. Anyway, here is Pinocchio, a true story.
There you go. Now, what should we name you? Maybe Leonardo. No, he'd grow up to be a turtle who only cares about pizza. I don't believe my
killer
eyes.
joke
Your
writing
name
here.
will be Pinocchio.
Father, when can I leave to be on my own?
Oh, God.
You are
It
truly
hurts.
special, Pinocchio. The world is full of people who could harm you.
The timeless story.
Our last few shows barely had any audience. We just need to come up
It's.
with a new.
I will say it's real nice that they recorded this audio in through a tin can.
She's headed for the cliff. She's gonna fall. Hold on. Senorina.
Senorina.
Left it.
Are you made of wood? You will become a star, my boy.
Because we can barely see the wood grain on your skin, so we can't really tell if you're wood or not.
It looks like our wooden Romeo is in love with Bella.
Did you seriously think that you and Bella...
There is a fairy. Her name is Lucilda. I'm sure she could turn you into a real boy.
Let's go, Tybalt. Great adventures away.
Take the adventure.
I did want to see the
And
world,
shove it.
But I realized she is the most beautiful thing the world has.
Just what
to
Pinocchio
offer.
needed, a love
No
interest.
strings attached.
Pinocchio is not just a puppet, he's a
Pinocchio is not just a puppet.
Straight over my tongue.
Featuring the voices of Pauly Shore,
Oh, I'll get into it.
John Heater,
I promise to look after him at all times.
So Napoleon Dynamite's having a good time lately.
Pinocchio, you'll be a star someday, no doubt.
Pinocchio, you'll be a star someday.
Performer. I need a talking puppet. We'll put on a show that won't soon forget.
We'll put on a show that won't soon forget.
story.
Gotcha.
You've only seen my good side, but now you'll see my bad side.
Mamma mia.
Brighten up the world.
Okay, did that mute?
There you go.
No, so
Now,
let me
what
see if
should
it's
we
the-
name you? Maybe
Option?
Leonardo.
There it is. Option. Okay. Pauly Shore, John Heater, and Tom Kenny, who could probably give dissertations on the horror stories of working in voiceover and just the trash fire of productions that he's been involved in. But this production was actually a Russian animation studio, and it released literally within a week of Russia invading Ukraine. So this has had some real good luck already. Just dynamite stuff. But Lionsgate, in lieu of the Weinstein Company no longer really being in existence, decided they should follow in suit of Weinstein's redubbing of foreign animated movies with really terrible dubs. This is worse than the infamous Weinstein Dougal dub from the mid-2000s, for those who remember that movie. And yeah, this is terrible casting, terrible lip-syncing, copy and paste animation for a lot of it, and just awful all around. I watched it twice. Once by myself, and the other time because a Discord server I was in wanted to watch it, but nobody in the Discord server at the time was in America, so they didn't have access to the Pauly Shore cut of the movie. Which, why would you deprive the international audiences of the great comic stylings of Pauly Shore? But yeah, I watched it with them, and we all just marveled at how terrible this whole thing was. Like, the dub is the worst part, but the animation is just like, even if you watched it in the original dub where the lips actually synced with the audio, then it's not much better. The whole gimmick is that we're telling you the real story of what truly happened with Pinocchio. You know, the fictional puppet who never actually existed and was always made up. But they try to make it sound Italian. They include Italian in the, aphorisms and, idioms in the dialogue, but nobody in the movie besides Tom Kenny even attempts an Italian accent. Even the Russian cast who provide the rest of the English dub don't even attempt Italian accents. They're just like, hello, yes, we are clearly speaking the English, yes. The dubbing on this is just terrible. And then the production itself, like, the animation at parts looks competent, if nothing else. It looks competent. And then you start to realize, oh wait, the hair is all in one piece. And they have recycled entire animation sequences and just changed the outfits on the models. The cat looks like the talking Tom cat from the kids' mobile app game. It resembles the original story of Pinocchio, which was all about how, as I noted in the title, my house is under construction, mainly outside construction because of the tree damage from December, and now that the winter's basically over, that we're finally getting to the actual construction parts, and part of that has been a lot of pounding. I don't know if anybody can hear that, but I mean, I could have good noise canceling and filtering from the Yeti. That's part of why I bought it that many years ago. But in any case, if you hear construction noises in the background, that's what that is. This production, however, even with the construction noises in the background, is actively a better production than this movie. Ha ha ha! Yeah, exactly. There's banging going on. There's a lot of work being done in order to repair the damage from the tree, and we're getting close towards the end of it soon. It should just be. I think after this week, hopefully, we should finally be moving on to painting and stuff. But yeah, reused assets all over the place. The dub script doesn't make any goddamn they have a detective in here, that guy with the mustache, and he's looking for criminals, and yet he just harasses Geppetto, thinking that he's housing a criminal for no apparent reason. And then he just starts following Pinocchio because it turns out Pinocchio is wanted for thefts that we never see on screen. there's no reason to care about Pinocchio. There's no reason for the detective to care about Pinocchio. There's no reason for the audience to, because like Pinocchio's whole gimmick was that he was learning how to be human. He was learning to become what it takes to be a real boy. And this movie never really digs into that. It's just goofy adventure stuff. Like, hey, let's go find the fairy. Let's go join the circus. And and then, oh, I like a pretty girl. Yes, I do. And there's no real... Also, he has human hair, and the hair looks human because they really did not bother with wanting to make Pinocchio look like an actual puppet. He looks like an actual child, just human child, with slight wood grain filter put on his skin sometimes. But he doesn't look like he was constructed out of wood at all. And so his hair looks like human hair, which raises all sorts of questions about Geppetto. Yeah, this whole movie is terrible in all of the worst ways. It's not fun to watch, really. Even when we were done watching it in the Discord, we all agreed we must never speak of this again. We are done with this. And of course, the best part of all, allow me to share you this movie's Wikipedia page. Let me open the browser source. Give me just a second. Let me get the page for it. Here we go. You ready for this? The Wikipedia page for this movie is literally a redirect to other, better Pinocchio adaptations. The whole Wikipedia page. And apparently, the argument within, when you look into the edits for the article, many of them agree that it was just a meme movie and didn't warrant its own Wikipedia page. But that still means that this movie has no information on its production. I have more questions than answers at this point, and it's gonna stay that way, sadly. But yeah, that was Pinocchio, a true story, and it was abject garbage, and you should never seek it out, even as a joke watch. Moving right along, though, next up, those are the newest releases of note that I got to see. The other reviews I have are for a couple of the Oscar nominations I got to watch, and unfortunately, I didn't get to any other Oscar nominees, because I'm a lazy bum. Anyway, let me pause the video, get it to the start. Unfortunately, it is still on repeat 1, good. And then unmute, nope, wait. Oh wait, yeah, yeah. Back to normal. And let's go.
We all have a story to tell. But what makes each one different is not how the story ends, but rather the place where it begins. Holy God.
Mama says if we went across the water, they wouldn't understand the way we talk.
If they can't understand you, then they're not listening. You know who you are, don't you? Your buddy from Belfast, where everybody knows you.
Hey, buddy! Your
We're looking to cleanse the community a wee bit.
You wouldn't want to be the odd man out in the street. Touch my family and I'll kill you.
Are we gonna have to leave Belfast?
We'll fight this together.
This is it? This is what?
This is war.
We're living in a civil war.
What do you want?
I want my family with me. I want you. Kids the same age as ours are getting killed. We can give these boys a better chance than we ever had.
I know nothing else but Belfast.
Go now. Don't look back.
And that is Belfast. Now, Belfast is an interesting film. It is semi-autobiographical in that this is based partially on the childhood of its writer-director, Kenneth Branagh. And Kenneth Branagh did grow up his first decade of life in Belfast. This basically follows, with some, fudging on the details to make it more fictionalized, pretty much what his childhood was like in Belfast that he remembers. He hung out in the streets, the Troubles were going on, so that was constantly in the background, and what really inspired him were the movies. And so everything taking place in 1969 is in black and white, except for the films that he watches that are in color. He sees movies like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. He sees an actual he sees a live stage production of A Christmas Carol. He watches 1 Million Years BC, that old Raquel Welch caveman movie. And those are in color to kind of exemplify, like, this is what caught his attention. And that's kind of how Kenneth Branagh grew up. He was inspired by the arts. And that's where he eventually, that's what led him down to, studying like theater and getting into film and all that, because the arts captured his imagination as a kid in a way that nothing else did. But yeah, while that's going on, this is like one of those really tragic coming of age stories where all of those coming of age tropes are there, set against the backdrop of the Troubles, which were the clashes between the Protestants and the Catholics in Northern Ireland. And in Belfast specifically, the villains of the piece, the antagonists more so than the villains, are not Catholics. They're not like the IRA. They're not the what you would think, given that this is a Protestant family in Northern Ireland and Belfast. The antagonists of the movie is a gangster Protestant who is purporting this, quote, cause of ridding Belfast of the Catholics. And the Catholics in this movie are just as much the victims as the other Protestants, because of this gang leader, because of his crusade against Catholics in the city. There's just nothing but violence and destruction around them, and it's not safe. And it's ultimately what leads, in the movie, Buddy's father to take them over to London. Oh, no. Branagh, this is Branagh's basically like semi-life story. This is essentially like a fictionalized memoir of his childhood. And yeah, no Nazi stuff, but it's definitely a look into what it was like to live while the Troubles were happening And you try so hard to live the normal life of just doing kid stuff and hanging with your family and your friends, meeting a girl you like, and then next thing you know, there's bombs going off in the street and people are blowing up cars, and then they're looting a storefront, and that's just life in a war-torn city like that. And that's exactly what Branagh wanted to capture, that the only people at fault are the people who purport the violence. Even if even if you believe the violence was justified, all that violence does is hurt everybody around you. And it's that sort of statement of like, Belfast was essentially like this boiling kettle of everything just stewing over and boiling over for decades. Northern Ireland was like that, especially Belfast. And even now, it's very unstable. Like, they have peace now, relatively, but there's always that fear that something will strike that match again and spark up the violence. But yeah, this is a very powerful and moving movie. I loved it. I genuinely enjoyed it. I think this is one of Branagh's best. And the cast here is great. The kid playing Buddy he's good. Oh yeah. The troubles in Ireland. Ireland has a very complex and compelling history between its subjugation under the British, to its fights for independence, to even the clashes between the Protestants and the Catholics. And it's part of the reason why you're never supposed to wear orange on St. Paddy's Day, because orange represents the Protestants who would kill the Catholics in Ireland, and they were specifically called the Orange Men. Oh yeah, they never really dig into it, unfortunately. The education system is not going to dig into the plights of so many people, sadly. But, yeah, St. Patrick's Day is a Catholic holiday, and you're not supposed to wear the colors of the Protestants who were killing Catholics in the streets during the Troubles. And so this movie really captures that feeling of being stuck in a war zone and wanting to escape, while at the same time never wanting to leave your home. The feeling of like, this is my home, I don't want to leave it, but it's better if you do, when the violence is right outside your doorstep and it's not safe, and you can find safety elsewhere. And yeah, Jamie Dornan, freaking Christian Grey is a really, he gets one of his better performances. Although I guess he was Jamie Dornan was also in Game of Thrones, which I never watched, so I never knew how good he was there. I only knew him as Christian Grey, and he like with Robert Pattinson in Twilight, he got saddled with a absolutely terrible role. And so when he's given a meaty role like this here, he really gives a good performance. He's great as the dad in here. A dad who is dealing with gambling addiction and poverty and debt and, a marriage on the rocks. And then, of course, the troubles happening around them. And it's just really well-crafted family drama. And then, of course, you've got Katrina Bulff as the mom. She's fantastic as the mom here. that Stewart's giving a dynamite performance, but everybody else is so close to the vest and so just lifeless almost. And yeah, exactly. I couldn't give two shits about the royal family at this point, but I'm also American, and it has no bearing on my life at all. I just think, fuck them. Who gives a shit? In any case, besides Stewart, the only real big names, Sally Hawkins, who was in The Shape of Water, is the dresser? Oh yeah, Imperial. Yeah, exactly. But the woman you see dressing her in Diana in the trailer, that's she plays this character who was basically like her closest confidant and friend while she was a royal. And you might also recognize the guy there in the beginning. He looks a bit more gaunt than I now because of age, but I'll point him out when he shows up in the trailer. Yeah, there's Sally Hawkins. That was her friend. And then there's another actor I recognized. I don't recognize his name, but he was Peter Pettigrew in the Harry Potter franchise. He was Beetle Bamford in the Sweeney Todd movie. He's been in a whole bunch of stuff. He's had a long-standing career, and he was the only other actor I recognized in the whole thing besides Kristen Stewart. And he plays essentially an army general who is trying to maintain the appearances and the dignity of the royal family, and he's trying to instill that in Diana, but all it's doing is building up more pressure on her. But unfortunately, this movie plays all of that so close to the vest and so coldly that I never got engaged by it. The trailer is way more engaging than the movie. The movie itself is much drier, much slower. It's not a very compelling film. And, in terms of, dramas. It felt it definitely feels like an art house prestige film. It feels much more... I think that's the thing, is that it's very British in its production. It's very British in that everything is so, very neat and tidy and not very spicy. It's ultimately very bland. And I think that's my biggest issue, is that it's just not very compelling. It's great for Kristen Stewart to get her a nomination and to showcase her talents as an actress, but ultimately, I wouldn't recommend anybody. I mean, maybe if you're this guy. That's I forget his name, but he is that guy who's been in a bunch of stuff. You may recognize him. He was the only other face I recognized. After a bit, I did recognize Sally Hawkins. But yeah, this is for the film snobs and for the prestige crowd. This is for the film nerd. This is for the film school kids and the high art class critics. And it's not bad. But ultimately, unless you're just really into the royal family and the drama surrounding Princess Diana, I doubt this will really engage you. I think ultimately there's a better way to handle Princess Diana's story in a way that's compelling, but this movie doesn't really do it. It's much too proper. To quote the Brits. But yeah. Spencer's not a bad movie. It just never engaged me. And really, the only reason I saw it was the only reason it was nominated, which was Kristen Stewart just, hits it out of the park in her performance of Diana. She is giving it, 100%. Oh yeah, that's lovely. You love to see that one. But yeah, this one, as far as I can tell, stays close to the truth. Maybe the general character is an amalgamation, but they have her kids, they have her husband, they have the royals, and I believe the confidant friend, Sally Hawkins' character, is real too. So it's not like they made people up. And besides, this is much more of a character piece on Diana herself and her mental state going through this. There's lots of scenes of her struggling with the pressure and the stress of it all, especially since the winter home where they're going is literally next door to where she grew up, so it's really creepy how it all was. And yeah, her life story is very just like raises all kinds of red flags. I'm guessing Andrew wasn't the only one hanging out with Epstein is all I'm saying, but that's just speculation. There's no confirmation of that. But yeah, it's on Hulu. Spencer is a very, very solid movie, just not something that I really care about. So that was the trailer. Those were the movies I saw this past week. And now it is time to talk about the big show. We're talking the Oscars real quick before I get into it. And sorry, I just wanted to set up something real quick. And get back to my notes. So yeah, quick notes about the ceremony. Well, in the lead up to it, the Academy Awards neglected to bring on the female star of West Side Story, Rachel Zegler. She was not invited to the Oscars. You know, despite the fact that she starred in a movie that's nominated all over the place. And then this year they decided to shorten the runtime by basically dumping a bunch of the technical awards. They aired snippets of the speeches for the winners, but there's no real care about the technical awards there. So they basically said, your awards aren't important. Who cares? So let's move on to the important stuff. And then the actual ceremony, aside from the infamous incident, was just another Oscars. They had 3 hosts this time, Amy Schumer, Regina Hall, and Wanda Sykes, one of whom is not like the other. You've got a comedic actress in Regina Hall, you've got a long-standing stand-up, a veteran stand-up in Wanda Sykes, and then you have a mediocre white woman in Amy Schumer. Oh, also, it turned out Amy Schumer also stole jokes for her monologue from Twitter. Again. She has a tendency to do this. But yeah, the 3 host things, especially since the hosts don't do shit, why did you need 3 of them? You literally could have just given it to Regina Hall or Wanda Sykes and called it a day. Hell, even just give it to Amy Schumer if that's what you want to do, but you needed 3? Why? They didn't do anything. Even the stuff they did together was kind of lame. Like, there was a bit where they all dressed as characters from movies that were nominated, and then Regina Hall and Wanda Sykes did stuff on their own, and then Amy Schumer would just show up, do her own thing. And it's like, why bother having 3 hosts at all, especially when there's no real chemistry between them? Like, at least get people who have chemistry together, who could work together, who are like, can bounce off each other with some good improv, experience. But yeah, then of course throughout the night there were commercials for cryptocurrency, Crypto.com, under the guise of, if you sign up for crypto, you can help donate money to Ukraine. So that's nice. Using cryptocurrency to, shilling for cryptocurrency under the guise of charity. That's great. That's great, ABC. That's fantastic. Love to see it. There's a lot of love for Coda, which I'll get into. There's a performance of We Don't Talk About Bruno, because apparently they didn't want to perform Van Morrison's song. They did perform one other song. They performed Dos Oruguitas. They performed, who were the frickin' song nominees again? Oh, Wikipedia was already, oh yeah, and then in the ceremony itself, they tried to make references of support for, Ukraine, for the invasion of Ukraine, and it was seen as very, very lame. it was seen as very, toothless, ultimately. But, let me see. The nominees for... Where is, That's the ceremony. Here we go, nominations. No, that's the nomination Come on. Where's the... There it is. There they are. Trying to find the frickin' nominees. Best song. Dos Oruguitas. No Time to Die was performed. Be Alive was performed. And, Somehow You Do from 4 Good Days was performed by Reba McEntire. But the only song that wasn't performed was Van Morrison's song, because he wouldn't show up because they had COVID guidelines in place and precautions. So instead they just performed We Don't Talk About Bruno. And they included Megan Thee Stallion, Luis Fonsi, and Becky G on it in order to include lyrics about the Oscars, and it was not very good, sadly. I mean, leave it to the Oscars to fuck up We Don't Talk About Bruno. Thanks. Real great job, guys. Just dynamite. Just on par with SNL with sucking all of the fun out of something. There was also absolutely abject disrespect for animation. They brought on 3 actresses who were playing princesses. They brought on someone who played Cinderella. They brought in the girl who's playing Ariel in the live-action reboot, and they brought on Naomi Scott, who played Jasmine, in order to say that animation is basically just for kids, and that and even Amy Schumer said she wouldn't watch Encanto except for her kids. And so it's just like this abject disrespect for the animation process and the genre. And that's the other thing. It's not a genre; it's a medium, and they keep treating it like a genre of film when it's not a genre; it's a medium of art. And just the continued abject disrespect for animation from the Oscars and the Academy itself, it continues onward. We got to see Elliot Page. They did a anniversary tribute to Juno, and they had Jennifer Garner, J.K. Simmons, and Elliot Page present an award. And Elliot looks good. I'm glad he is doing... I hope he's doing well. This is the first time I've seen him since he opened up about the transition, and I get the feeling that people were kind of laughing at him, sadly, and that's unfortunate, but entirely expected from frickin', surface level progressive Hollywood. But then, of course, we got the big moment. The slap heard round the world. So yeah, the part of the reason I wanted to hold off from talking about the Oscars for a day was also because in the wake of the ceremony, the 24 hours after was just riddled with all level of bad takes about what happened and about who was right, who was wrong, and all that. My takeaway was Chris Rock's set sucked and Will Smith did us a favor. Like, Will Smith shouldn't have... If Will Smith was upset by that joke, going straight for a slap was very, very much escalating things beyond what he should have done. But at the same point, it was the most interesting that happened during the night, and it got Chris Rock to end his terrible fucking set. Up to that point, Chris Rock made jokes about Penelope Cruz being a spiteful harpy who would chew out... oh, God. Why can't I remember his name? Oh, God. He was nominated this year. Shit. Oh, God. What's wrong with my brain? Javier Bardem. She's married to Javier Bardem, and Chris Rock was making jokes about how, she doesn't win an Oscar, she's gonna be mad. Women, am I right? It's so terrible. And then the slap was preceded by a goddamn G.I. Jane reference, which isn't even relevant. And then Chris Rock's like, it was just a G.I. Jane joke. And I'm like, you deserve to be slapped just for that. Like, this is you. It's Oscars night, and this is what you're bringing to the table, you hack. That's the best you can do. So yeah, plus I also identify with Will Smith. I'm guessing the fact that he led with a slap meant that he was probably going through a lot emotionally, and that Chris Rock's terrible joke just put him over the edge. And I've been there before, so it humanized Will Smith in a way that very few moments do. And so I empathize with him a lot. I don't agree with what he did. I thought he was in the wrong, but I also thank him because that set was gonna suck. And I'm glad it ended early. But yeah, they've since buried the hatchet. Chris Rock and Will Smith go back all the way to the Fresh Prince. They've been colleagues for decades. So the fact that this even happened was like, came right the hell out of nowhere. And so they were professional enough and friendly enough to be like, okay, look, here's what happened. And then explaining the situation, Chris Rock apologized, not intending to make a joke about the Jada Pinkett has alopecia, which is an autoimmune disease, akin to AIDS, and part of it takes away, causes hair loss. And so, yeah, exactly, he's a prick, and people were bringing up how he has a history of being a misogynistic prick. And as I mentioned, he opened his set by calling Penelope Cruz a harpy, essentially, and saying that she can't handle a loss. So he's digging out material from the Stone Age, apparently. And yeah, I am not sad that set ended, because he was clearly not bringing his A game. But they've since apologized to each other, and Chris Rock apologized for essentially making a joke at the expense of Jada Pinkett's health, and Will Smith apologized for clearly escalating the situation and being in the wrong. And well, for me, he hasn't been funny since the 90s. I liked Bigger and Blacker. I don't think it holds up as well. A lot of that 90s comedy doesn't hold up. But there are some good bits in his Bigger and Blacker special that I think hold up. But he hasn't been funny in decades for me. But yeah, so that was the slap heard round the world. And Chris and Will have buried the hatchet, so that basically means all that's left are the terrible, terrible think pieces, and I frankly do not give a shit. So let's move on. We can just laugh about it as like, hey, look, here's a crazy thing that happened. Huh, that was the most interesting that happened all night. Anyway, the last couple of things I wanted to say were the In Memoriam segment had a very different tone by being instead I never saw Everybody Hates Chris either, so and he's not the first comedian to get most comedians, when they get a sitcom, it's always about their backstory or their stand-up, or essentially, so it's always an ego trip. But the In Memoriam segment, instead of the somber moment of silence, they decided to treat it as a celebration of life. That sort of moment of, like, it had a gospel choir. It was very much a trying to be uplifting moment instead of a somber moment. And so they had Tyler Perry showcase, talk about the inspiration and the talent of Sidney Poitier. They had Bill Murray pay tribute to and respects to Ivan Reitman, and Jamie Lee Curtis gave her respects and praise to Betty White. Unfortunately, they left off Norm Macdonald and Bob Saget from the In Memoriam, which feels like a dick move, because they may have not been in the most prestigious of films, but they were still in the industry. And you're giving freaking no names who worked in the back, worked in the offices for people, no name producers that nobody's ever heard of except people in the industry. You're giving them time there when you could easily just show a quick image of Bob Saget and Norm Macdonald. Say, hey, acknowledge that they passed away. But yeah, just another reason just another group of people the Oscars completely threw under the bus because they did not care. They just didn't care. And then the last thing I wanted to say was, with so much emphasis on Coda, it was really kind of telling that the Oscars didn't provide deaf interpreters for the entirety of the show. The only people who had them were the people from who worked on Coda. Coda being the Apple TV movie based on the acronym Child of Deaf Adults. It's a remake of a French film. It's about a girl who's growing up and struggling between her own passions and her own desires for her own life, wanting to go to a college that's out of state and pursue her passions, versus being the only hearing member of her family who can interpret her family's ASL to people. And it's a very touching movie. I didn't love it. I liked it, though, and I'm glad it's getting a lot of respect and care. And speaking of which, let's dig into the actual winners themselves. Biggest winner of the night is Dune for all of the technical awards. Production design, editing, cinematography. Why do I have production design on here twice? I have production design on here twice. Hold on. Visual effects is what I didn't put in there. So that's visual effects, editing, production design, cinematography, sound, and then also best original score as well was given to Dune. So yeah, Dune won all of the technical categories because, yeah, and the one category that usually goes to the big blockbusters went to the blockbuster that had the most snob points, Dune. And despite the fact that I liked Dune, I really liked Dune, and I'm excited for part 2, but the fact that Dune won them is entirely unsurprising because, of course, they were going to give it to the prestige blockbuster. They weren't going to give it to Spider-Man or Free Guy. Ooh, icky franchises and superheroes. Yeah. I didn't mind Heath Ledger. I think Heath Ledger did a great performance, and that was mostly for posthumously awarding him the best actor, because basically in tribute, which made the snubbing of Chadwick Boseman all the more infamous last year. But yeah, Dune won all the technical awards essentially, except for makeup and hairstyle went to The Eyes of Tammy Faye, which is the biopic of Tammy Faye Baker, starring Jessica Chastain. Best costume design went to Cruella because that movie was all about the fashion, and that costuming was dynamite. So I'm glad it won. Best original song went to No Time to Die. I was very much expecting Dos Oruguitas and for it to go to Encanto, but they gave it to No Time to Die, which is also a very good song. So at least one of the two best songs won. But the shorts went to things that nobody's ever heard of or seen, sadly. The Windshield Wiper was best animated short. I think it's about something in Afghanistan or the Middle East. The Long Goodbye was Riz Ahmed short that he made about a kidnapping, I think. I'm not sure. Once again, the shorts get awarded, but they never get showcased for anybody. So it doesn't ultimately matter to anybody outside of the industry, sadly. And then the best documentary short went to Queen of Basketball, which is about the only woman to ever be featured as an NBA player in the 70s, which I hear is a great story too. So I'm sad I never got the chance to see that special. But the best documentary went to Summer of Soul, which was about I forget what the concert was, but it was the part where it was where the line "The revolution will not be televised" came from. That was from this concert in the 60s. produced by Questlove, and he had to give his speech after the slap, and nobody heard his moving, just touching speech. There are some really good speeches too. Will Smith's speech when by the way, Will Smith won Best Lead Actor for King Richard, and he did acknowledge his mistake in the speech itself, not by apologizing directly to Chris Rock, but by saying that your anger will get the best of you if you're not careful, and that sort of thing, and that you have to try and push for love, and that sort of thing. You could tell he was very emotional just that whole night. And most of the speeches were very, very good. Best International Feature went to Drive My Car, which is a Japanese film about a production of Waiting for Godot that I've heard nothing but good things about, but I have never been able to find. I don't know where it is, streaming-wise or rental-wise, sadly. Best Animated Movie, Encanto. Best one, honestly, the one that's exactly what you would expected. Plus, although I would have given it to Mitchell's vs. the Machines, but of course, but Encanto isn't undeserving either. Best Adapted Screenplay is for Coda, because it was adapted from a French film. Best Original Screenplay went to Belfast, since that was all Kenneth Branagh's baby. So Kenneth Branagh won for Belfast, and then the screenwriter for Coda won. And then Supporting Actress went to Ariana DeBose for West Side Story. She won for the exact same role as Rita Moreno did in the original West Side Story. So both versions of West Side Story have the same Academy Award win for Best Supporting Actress, which I thought was cute until I realized those were the only two Latinas to win Best Actress, Supporting or Lead. So now it just feels like a dig from the Academy. It feels like the only way for a Latina to win the Best Actress in any regard is to play why can't I remember the character's name? Shit. What is her name in West Side Story? What is her name? What is that character's name? It was Anita. So yeah, it seems like this feels like a dig at Latinas saying that you can only win a Best Actress by playing Anita in West Side Story the next time it comes around. So yeah. Anyway, Best Supporting Actor went to Troy Kotsur, who was in Coda. He plays the dad. He's fantastic, and his acceptance speech as well was great. Best Lead Actress went to Jessica Chastain for The Eyes of Tammy Faye, and she really disappeared into that role from what I've seen. I need to go watch the movie itself. There's a couple of... I want to see Summer of Soul, and I want to see The Eyes of Tammy Faye at some point. I need to watch them at some point. And, especially after their wins. But, Jessica Chastain seemed to really dig into the role of Tammy Faye Baker, who has a very interesting story. But Best Lead Actor, Will Smith for King Richard. He finally got his Oscar, and unfortunately the night was more memorable for the fact that he slapped Chris Rock across the face, which honestly, I think a lot of people have wanted to do, so it's kind of, I'm not too mad about it. But Best Director went to Jane Campion for The Power of the Dog. Despite having 12 nominations, The Power of the Dog only went away with one win for Best Director. And I find it odd that they split the wins for this one, because Best Film went to Coda. So Coda won Best Film at the Oscars, but not at Best Director. They usually pair the two, but for some reason they wanted to give The Power of the Dog at least one win, and it went to the director for it. And then Best Picture went to I never understood the winning process for the Oscars. They don't make any goddamn sense. But yeah, those are the Oscars. The ceremony was awful, marred by an infamous slap across the face that everybody took way too seriously the next day. And the winners were mostly predictable. The ceremony sucked, and the Muppets should have hosted. I'm just going to say it. I'm going to say it again every single time it happens. The Muppets should host the Oscars. They should be the de facto hosts of the Oscars. It's the only way to make that ceremony any good. Just give it to the Jim Henson team, let them host the Oscars, and let them have a blast, and then just wind them up and let them go. because that's the only way you're going to get a watchable Oscars anytime soon. So yeah, I need to get ready to leave soon, so we're going to wind up real quick with a look at the box office. I've been talking without music this whole time. I forgot to hit play again. So we're gonna take a look at the box office real quick. So let's zoom in real quick. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. So, this weekend, Infinite Storm, I don't remember. What was Infinite Storm? Naomi Watts, Billy Howell. Okay, it's some mountain climbing movie. Okay. Never came near me, so I never saw it. Sing 2, Spider-Man No Way Home broke 800 million, so it's now second behind Avengers Endgame. Well, I should say 800 million domestically, and I think it's second behind Endgame or thereabouts. Yeah, 888 billion. So yeah, is there a way to... Oh, that's right, they hid all of them behind IMDb Pro, bastards. So I have to go here and look up the MCU box office on a different... Damn it. Here we go. Lifetime gross, that's domestic. We need international. Come on. Alrighty. Release, reception, box office performance. I may want to just keep this for as long as I'm talking about Spider-Man. No, it is still behind Infinity War, but it has outpaced Marvel's The Avengers. Oh, it did that a while ago. So yeah, it is still behind Infinity War in terms of international box office, but in terms of domestic box office, it is second behind Avengers Endgame. If it can get 58 million more dollars, it will have outgrossed Avengers Endgame at the box office. So that is wild to think about. Dog is still in there. X saw some more theaters. Jujutsu Kaisen, the movie, is still making money, which is unbelievable to me. Uncharted is still hanging in there. Never heard of RRRRR. I have no idea what that is. The heck even is that? Fictitious story about two legendary revolutionaries and their journey away from home before they started fighting for their country in 1920s. Huh. Looks like an Indian film. They seem to be getting a lot more play here in the States, interestingly enough. But yeah, Batman got kicked out of the top spot by The Lost City, which premiered at $30 million for the weekend. Which, I mean, this has been, what, Batman's fourth week at the box office, at number 1. So something was going to knock it out of the top spot. And this movie made back half its budget domestically already. The Lost City. What is worldwide? Worldwide, ooh, yeah. I think once it hits, it's only in Indonesia and Romania right now. So once it starts hitting the major markets like Japan and China and Europe and the rest of Europe, like the UK, that's when we're going to start seeing how well it does. But yeah, Lost City, number 1 at the box office. Good for it. And coming up this week, we've got Morbius, the Living Vampire. We've got a movie over on HBO Max called Moonshot, which I'm not sure about. And then we've got Better Nate Than Ever over on Disney Plus, which is a Broadway musical sort of story based on a kid's novel. Judd Apatow. Oh, that was the other thing. Judd Apatow lost his shit when Chris Rock got slapped. He acted like Will Smith was going to choke him out on the stage and murder Chris Rock on live television over a slap. Judd Apatow basically outed himself as a weenie little baby. And his new movie's coming out on Netflix, so I'm sure that's going to do great for him. But it looks interesting. The idea is that it's essentially a crew for a CG-driven action franchise is filming in, like, Romania or Hungary or somewhere off in the middle, somewhere off in Europe, in, like, Eastern Europe and the old Soviet bloc. And then it turns out one of them then it turns out that everybody on set is getting this flu, and they have to shut down production. Karen Gillan, Fred Armisen, Maria Bakalova from Borat 2 is in here. David Duchovny, Keegan-Michael Key, Leslie Mann, Kate McKinnon, Pedro Pascal. So it's an interesting cast, at least. It's probably going to suck because it's Judd Apatow. He hasn't made a funny movie in years. But I'll be pleasantly surprised. I'm still going to roast the shit out of him for being a weenie, but that's a whole other story. Paramount Pictures is releasing The Contractor, which is Chris Pine and Ben Foster and Kiefer Sutherland. Involuntarily discharged from the Army Special Forces, joins a private contracting organization under the command of fellow veterans in order to support his family. On a covert mission, he must invade the... Okay, so it's a story about, one of those guys from Blackwater. That's great. Thanks for that, Paramount. We surely needed a story about how, the trials and tribulations of one of the contract killers who worked for Blackwater. And then over on Netflix, we got an animated movie called Apollo 10.5, which is Richard Linklater. Interesting. This is going to be his third rotoscoped animated movie, following Waking Life and A Scanner Darkly. Interesting. I'll have to keep my eye out for it. It's got Glenn Powell, Zachary Levi, and Jack Black in it. So I'll have to look for it. But yeah, that's what's coming up this week. And I think that's about it for me. I got to get ready for work. Thanks for tuning in, Ben. And I've got to tune out. See y'all.